What is a good settlement? I get asked that so frequently, so frequently. I got a call in the last couple of weeks. Real nice guy. He called. I never. He didn't retain me because he didn't need to. I told him he didn't need me. Had a wreck about coming up on 2 years ago. Went to the hospital, got checked out, ended up with about a $15,000 bill. And he was sore after that, but he wasn't bad off to the point where he had to seek other medical care. And he's fighting tooth and nail just to get his ambulance and his hospital bill taken care of. He doesn't want anything above that. He just wants the insurance company to take care of his hospital bill and his trip to the ER after the accident. It was a pretty bad accident. And I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, you're kidding me. Who in their right mind is going to push you to sue them when that's all you want? So I get the question, what is a good settlement in that circumstance? What should he settle for? And that gets back to this. Every case is different. I cannot overstate that. Every case has its own facts. And those facts determine what the value is. And even if you take the exact same case and you pick it up from county to county to county, the value changes. If you take that same case and move it from county to county and change out the people involved, the value changes. So every case is going to be different. But at a minimum, a good settlement is going to compensate a plaintiff or someone hurt for their reasonable and necessary medical expenses. Two very important words there, reasonable and necessary. Reasonable being what's customary. There are doctors out there that will take you, if you're involved in an accident, and I call them Dr. Shots. I'm not going to flatly say their name, but they put out advertising. If your doctor advertises for car wrecks, come on, really? Your doctor is advertising that they treat accident victims and they only treat accident victims? Why are they doing that? They're doing it because they can charge 10 times as much. They can give you a Band-Aid that say cost them a nickel, and if you get it from a hospital, cost you $1. They'll charge you $8 or $9 for that Band-Aid. And people do it. People do it all the time. I would say the majority of the cases I get to defend, Dr. Shots is involved. Someone has gone to them and run up a $40,000 bill over a fender bender in a parking lot. So reasonable expenses, what it should cost. Just because I owe you an apple doesn't mean you get to buy a $300 apple. If I can get the same apple for 50 cents, reasonable. The next word that's important is necessary. Made necessary by what happened to you. Everybody above the age of 30 has got a bump, a bruise, a boo-boo, something wrong with them that nags them. And if you're over 30 and you don't, you better get on your knees and thank the Lord. As we progress in age, there are more bumps, bruises, and boo-boos that are not caused by accidents. Just because you've got neck pain and you get bumped and you have a slight increase in neck pain for a week until you go back to normal does not mean that every instance of neck pain you have for the rest of your life was caused by that accident. That's ridiculous. Nobody's going to buy that. Nobody's going to buy that. You don't get to treat or have a neck surgery because somebody bumps you and your bumper looks perfect. There's not even a smudge, not even a paint mark. You don't get to go have the neck surgery that you've needed for the last 10 years and blame it on the accident. Now, there are lawyers out there that do it every day, that take cases like that and push them. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be me, because if I don't think you're hurt, I'm not going to represent you. So made necessary by the accident. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to pay you for your pain and suffering. Pain and suffering, we could talk about what pain and suffering is and what it's not for the next 2 hours. So I'm not going to do that. But I will tell you this, it's got to be reasonable. It's got to be reasonable. If you treat for a week and then your medical records say you're back to normal and then you claim pain and suffering for a year after that, no, that's not what it is. I'm sorry. It's not a windfall. It's not a lottery ticket. The whole system is to compensate people for their losses. It's not to make somebody rich unjustly. With pain and suffering, it's important that you're treating, because if you're hurting, you need to go see a doctor about it. If you're truly hurting, you need to go see a doctor. You don't need to be riding four-wheelers, riding jet skis, bungee jumping, living the high life, all while claiming that you're hurt and can't do anything. Some people are like, yeah, that's common sense, but you'd be surprised. It's not common sense. See it all the time. But with pain and suffering, you need to be in treatment. You need to document it. It can be as simple as keeping a diary. On July 5th, my grandkids came over. I tried to pick little Billy up, but when I did, I had a shooting pain down the back of my leg and I had to put him down. Those are things that you can actually be compensated for. How your pain, how your injuries have impacted your life. Now, with that same example, if you've not been able to pick up little Billy for the last 3 years, you don't get to claim that every time you can't pick him up after the accident was because of the accident. That's not the way it works.